Memory transcription subject. Captain Sovlin, Federation Fleet Command. Date. Standardized human time. October 24th, 2136. The human soldiers detached in their shuttle well before we entered Kolshian territory. No doubt the predators wanted to avoid being picked up by sensor readings. If patrol ships asked us to account for all detected lifeforms, it would be impossible to hide their presence. Our concerns were validated by the harsh reception we received on descent toward Aafa. Gunships sidled up to us at full speed and relayed demands to power down our engines.
Venal vessel, you are not welcome on Federation grounds.
The Kolshian's chief Nikonus was broadcasting a hail on military frequencies, with a glare that rivaled human ferocity.
I let your beast speak once, and that was an error on my part. The Godjet Cradle, the Kokotl army, and dozens of worlds have perished because of that little misstep.
I accepted the transmission, striking my serious pose.
This is Captain Sovlin from the Godjet Detachment of the Federation Fleet. I'm here to request asylum for our refugees. Do the humans think we're idiots? There's 6 other signatures on board, and you were a known predator prisoner.
Nikonus bobbed his indigo tentacles in irritation.
By law, Venlil visitors should be held as enemies of state for raising arms against other prey races.
I waited for the Harchan reporters to step into the field of view, while Tarpin and Burner filtered in on my other side. The deaf Godjet wielded a device that could approximate subtitles, and was growing livid from the dialogue. He began punching away at his speech synthesizer, but I flicked my claws in warning. If the Kolshian Commonwealth realized our Terran-sympathizing alignment, there might not be an opportunity to land on Aafa. It was an uphill battle to convince them we were friendlies already. You'd think this roll call would assuage their doubts, but they seem to be expecting predator trickery. News of the assault on Earth has reached the wider galaxy. They know the Venlil fought by humanity. The tension was palpable, as my scans confirmed that the Kolshians kept their weapons powered up. I had no idea if they'd deny us passage or attack us outright, since nobody had shown any concern for the suffering Godjets. The Federation had abandoned my people thus far. There had been no aid ships or reinforcements at our borders. Not one friend would go toe-to-toe with either predator for us. Anger bubbled inside my chest, but I pushed it down.
Search us all you want. I rescued these Harchan personnel from an Arxer attack. We have useful intelligence. You're adding to their trauma also, if you care. What are they hiding on your ship then? Bombs? Bioweapons? The Kolshian demanded.
I struggled to keep my voice steady. The Venlil were able to secure my release and move some Godjet refugees to their territories. I'll be happy to discuss the details before the Federation representatives. Whoever is here graces Chief Nikonus.
Let the Harchan speak. I recognize a renowned journalist when I see one, Solani. I want to know about the Federation's response to this multilateral attack, and your plan to deal with these human predators, the journalist said, without hesitation. File is barely holding, and there's a refugee crisis brewing on your borders. The people want answers. My people want answers. That doesn't give you the right to barge in here without clearance. You're disrupting important proceedings. This is important too, Chief Nikonus.
The Kolshian breathed a heavy sigh, brushing a tentacle across his forehead. These ship frequencies were often monitored by various media outlets, and I'd hope it'd still generate bad publicity if they turned non-Venlil away. Solani and I felt that Nikonus owed us the truth, even if we entered his territory on false pretenses. A trace of my former bravado flared in my chest. The old Captain Sovlin wouldn't have been turned away from a mission objective by anyone. I plotted in a landing course for the Governance Center, and ignored the target lock icons on screen. We would be through Aafa's silky atmosphere long before Nikonus gave a kill order. Nothing involving bureaucrats happened quickly.
What are you doing, Sovlin? Have you lost your mind? The Kolshian leader hissed.
Fire away, you wouldn't dare, I chuckled. noting the irony. Those were the same words I told Tava responding to her distress signal, right before the Venal threw missiles in my face. Shooting down asylum seekers would have the wondrous consequence of raining debris on college students. I will speak my piece, and I don't care if you like it. Nicholas's bulbous eyes stretched wide. Are you trying to start a war? This is rash and impulsive, unbecoming of a Federation officer. What have I got to lose? My cradle is dead, and I'm one of the last survivors of a dying species. It's time someone let us Godges speak for ourselves. We don't even get that courtesy. The Kolshin waved a tentacle in a dismissive gesture, and forwarded an open hangar location. It was all I could do to slow to a safe landing velocity. Burner and Talpin seemed terrified of my flying. The two of them had found their way back to their harness seats. Our ship ducked the spaceport overhang with an inch to spare. FTL traffic control gawked from the observation room as I careened down while firing reverse thrusters. Our massive ship slid into the docking port like a plug into a socket. Kolshin soldiers rushed across the terminal, flooding from the connector tunnel to the governance hall. They bore weapons designed to hamper any human predators that magically popped into existence, including heavy guns and strobe lights. I laughed to myself, appreciating how absurd this reaction was. Perhaps these extermination officer wannabes will try to arrest me. I doubt they liked that stunt I pulled, but the humans would think it's hilarious, I noted. Protector. Those predators get humor. The Kolshins rigged explosive charges by the exit hatch before we could disembark of our own volition. They entered with gun muzzles ready and hollered orders at all of us. My spines bristled at their intimidation, but the fear didn't reach my brain. I struck a bored pose as they pressed a rifle to my temple, pushing it away with a light claw tap. Meanwhile, the Harcher reporters and Godget refugees had dropped to the floor in terror. Your hospitality needs some work, I remarked. That's no way to welcome guests. The Kolshin soldiers shared a glance, incredulous at my derangement. They swept every corner of our ship, including inside storage cabinets. Amusement flared up once more, as I thought about Carlos folded up like a suitcase to fit in a drawer half its size. Several glares latched onto me, and I was flung to the floor by a rough tentacle. It took an inordinate amount of time for their thorough search, but our host became satisfied that humans weren't lying in wait. The Commonwealth Guards waved to stand up and ushered us out the door. The 8-sided landing pad had an array of stores and offices built into its walls. Flashing signs directed ambassadorial attaches to the governance hall, written in several languages, including the artificially created Common, which was only used by pretentious diplomats. The general public were welcome to Federation proceedings as spectators, but they weren't cleared to land here. Media personnel hurried out from the connector tunnel just as we cleared the terminal's threshold. They seemed disappointed to find the unannounced arrival was a few Godgets and Harchin. Whatever an outlet's stance on humanity, the Predator's Cell mantra was true. Journalists captured footage of us with our Kolshin escort, with a few calling Solani and I by name. I avoided eye contact and kept my lips sealed. Solani, Harchin Ambassador Rayla will welcome you to hear your report on Fal. A Kolshin soldier turned to me, radiating contempt. She is in crucial talks with undecided Federation members now, so you need to show some patience, Sovlin. I kept a placid expression, though I knew our neutral faction could not turn on humanity. Of course, we'll wait outside until she's ready. Would you show us there, please? The Kolshin beckoned with a cerulean tentacle, steering us through winding corridors. Our journey ventured away from the massive auditorium where state business was conducted. Architects and Aafa seemed to derive joy from constructing floor plans that looked like mazes. It was a wonder we didn't get lost. Perhaps a simpleton like me couldn't understand beauty, but I wished the humans would gut the whole place. Terran layouts were always neat and orderly. We reached an escalator that transported us to a basement. A subway train waited for us, and whisked us below the street to the ambassadorial offices. I didn't understand why the diplomatic living arrangements were in the hall's premises, while the workspaces were separate. I suppose this was the only way to provide every species with spacious accommodations. The Kolshian soldier steered us into a lobby, once we arrived at the station. An elevator ride to the 12th floor was the last step of our journey, and I yawned to express annoyance. Judging by the iconography of Inatala, with flowers in her beak, this must be the Cocottle's home. Closed doors sealed off a conference room, which I yearned to break into.
This is my chance to speak to the Federation, the ones that can still turn back. I have to impress the need to appease humanity.
I sprinted toward the meeting area, catching the Kolshians by surprise. A soldier placed a tentacle on my shoulder, and my spines extended further. In a flash of outrage, my claws scratched gashes into his soft skin. Salani gasped at my violent assault, but I had no intention of waiting. This was too important to let some grunt stand in our way. The Kolshians drew their guns, no doubt worried that the human predators had corrupted me. The Harchan reporter leapt in their path, and waved her arms to compensate for her short stature. I burst into the assembly. Dozens of pupils darted in my direction. Ambassador Jerulim squawked angrily.
What on Nishchal is this interruption? From the man who pushed the bleeding hearts into the human's arms, because poor Marcel. What Captain Sovlin did to that human was wholly cruel and unnecessary, whatever side of the aisle you're on, Chief Nicholas returned. It's a predator, just like Noah was. You traitors use their names, which is validating the whole premise of personhood. What's next? An Arxor speaker named Huggable?
A female Mazik flared her trunk. Noah is obviously a monster, even he recognized that. But his arguments were sound. We don't have the luxury of trusting our gut. Fret not, Jerulim. Everyone recognizes the image of evil when it's right in front of them.
Do they? That's why you're the only allied race that came to this meeting?
Fossil Ambassador Duck tossed her floppy ears.
They won't meet with you because you physically attacked everyone who sided with humanity last time.
I've apologized for that. I'm willing to talk to everyone now, though you don't deserve it. What I did was the only sensible reaction to heresy. A clamor of voices rose in disharmony, leveling accusations and shouting conflicting views. I was horrified that these were our leaders. They had the emotional maturity of misbehaving children. The good news was that I didn't need to fake diplomatic aplomb. If talking the loudest was the only way to get through to them, that was right up my alley. I am speaking now. My roar shook my vocal cords, as I leapt onto the table to draw attention. Jerulim, I think your army is gone, so you have nothing to throw your weight around with. That's why you're talking. The Cocotle ambassador craned his neck in irritation. You have no right! Protector, you make more senseless noise than a stampede. The undecided voters here, most notably the Sulian and Iftali Alliance, are likely leaning towards war with the humans. This is all based on the Cradle's fall, but nobody here was actually there but me. Are the Godges nothing more than a talking point to you, without our own voice? We served this Federation for 6 centuries. Chief Nicholas cleared his throat. The Federation respects the contributions of the Godjiti Union, who worked tirelessly in our defense throughout this war. The Kolshian Commonwealth was saddened by the tragedy that befell your people. That said, we already got the details from Dr. Zahn of the Takan Coalition. Your doctor. Zahn? He said that all humans deserve to die from the moment we laid eyes on Marcel, much like the Cocotle ambassador with this Noah. What you need to know is that Prime Minister Piri and I saw empirical and irrefutable evidence that flipped our stance. My question is, does anyone care what really happened? Of course we care. Go ahead, Captain, the Salian observer interjected. The simple fact is, the humans never attacked a single civilian or even medical target. We were gearing up for an attack on Earth, so they took out our military capabilities to stop us. The Arxor took advantage of the lapse in fortification and started bombing everything in sight. Terran military personnel risked their lives to evac our people. Jerulim puffed out his chest. The Predators were just collecting their own cattle. It didn't surprise me that the Federation assumed our refugees were livestock, but that was why Tarpin was here. The Kolshian soldiers stood steadfast at the door, forming an organic wall between my posse and the diplomats. Hearing the Cocottle's claim, Berna barreled over a guard with a headbutt. Her brother was close behind. Solani slipped through the dazed soldiers, though the other Harshan journalists weren't as quick to act. Tarpin is deaf, and he can attest that humans treat him with dignity. One of my guards had a deaf brother too. They don't discard their own like the Arxor, I retorted. I thought I was going to suffer in Terran custody, but my victim claimed that wasn't who he was. The UN gave me a second chance. The Harshan ambassador, Rayla, turned to Solani. Enough predator apologetics. Was Fal holding? The reporter wiggled her toes. Yes, but the Arxor claimed the raid was retribution for Earth. The humans seem to have them under some level of control that can either be really good or really bad. They're working together? Officially? Jeralem shrieked. I told you! I shook my head. The Arxor are lying to the humans to gain their alliance because they recognize their potential. I was on the bridge of a Terran warship when they returned and took back the cradle. They won against an enemy we can't hold a candle to, with 3 months FTL experience and primitive ships. They boarded a cattle ship so methodically that the Greys surrendered. Disbelieving expressions swept across the room at the thought of those raging monsters giving up mid-fight. Even Solani had difficulty absorbing that tidbit. While it was common knowledge that Godja territory had fallen to predators, the situation was more complex than that. That battle was the moment I recognized how well humanity could harness their instincts. They had better control on their neural wiring than any of us. Solani blinked. Is that why the Greys decided to honor humanity's claim to Godjits? Respect? I don't know or care what goes through the minds of those savages. I care about the empathetic primates who eat fruit and have protective instincts. My Federation friends, don't you understand the importance of appeasing humanity? You're forcing a species much smarter and more tactical into the Greys' arms. Chief Nicholas leaned back. Appeasement was always my plan, and people like Jeralem thought they knew better. Have the 2 predators wear each other down. Then, it would be much easier to clean up the survivors. If they want to duke it out, why make them turn their guns on us? My jaw almost dropped to the floor. Using the humans to destroy the Arxor, then mopping up their remnants, was the cold, calculating idea I'd expect from a predator. The United Nations deserved to be shown genuine kindness. It was all I could do to keep my mouth shut. After cooperating through an alliance, these people would get attached to the Terrans eventually. There would be time to give the primates a proper warning, if they didn't see through the facade from the start. This might be the only way to save the Federation. I want humanity to survive, but I can't feed every race in the galaxy to the Greys to achieve that. The humans want to know where every race stands. That was their message, I said. Make your decision, and contact the United Nations. Well, those of you that haven't already fucked your species over. Rayla wiggled her toes in discomfort. We joined the attack on Earth, and I can't say I regret that. I regret that it failed. Solani glared at the Harshan ambassador. You should be ashamed of yourself. Surrender unconditionally and beg their forgiveness. We can't hold out if the Greys send reinforcements, once they finish up with defenseless Nishtal. This is a wake-up call, I growled. Nobody who openly opposed the humans has survived, assuming the 24 attackers fall to the Arxor. All that matters is that we survive, but it's your choice. Go with our last chance of survival, or push the predators into the Greys' arms. Agreement glittered in the eyes of the Kolshian chief, and a contemplative silence swept through the room. I hoped my argument was more compelling than the humans' vengeful demands. My trust in the Federation's decision-making was gone, where predators were involved. After decades of faithful service, this plea was a final effort to save the species I pledged to defend.